everyone. We're back here at the Imagine conference from Automation Anywhere in Orlando at the Conrad Resort. It's a beautiful resort, and it's been a fantastic 2 days of learning here at Imagine. Our next guest is Micah Smith. Micah is VP of Developer Relations and Community.
Nailed it. That's it.
You know, as I get older, it's harder for me to remember.
That's one question down.
One question down. All right. They're not going to big me on that one. Anyway, Micah, welcome to Tech Strong TV. It's a pleasure to have you on here. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but let's start off talking about you.
Yeah. So I'm best at that.
Me too. Imagine. So, Micah, give people a sense. I gave them your title, but you know, titles are fungible today.
That's right.
Give them a sense of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I lead the developer relations and community teams at Automation Anywhere. And for us, that means everything from our training, our Automation Anywhere University, to our Pathfinder community. That includes things like our Pathfinder framework, our agentic quest bot games, which are challenges that we create for developers, and basically a lot of community programs that we're running. So we just did a training camp for everyone to learn agentic process automation. We did 46,000 course completions in a total of 4 weeks. It was a huge accomplishment, way more than we even expected, if I'm totally honest. So I do that. And our mission is really to empower automation programs to be successful. And that means empowering automation program leaders to know how to build and scale an automation program. And it also means training developers to learn how to develop, deliver, and deploy successful automations.
Sure. Let's unpack this a little bit. So you mentioned, I think it was called Automation Anywhere University.
Yeah.
For those of our audience not familiar, give them a sense. What is the university about?
Yeah, so this is all of our efforts to train developers to learn how to build, deliver, and deploy agentic process automation solutions. And so we've created a bunch of learning trails that are specific either to feature or specific to persona. So if you're a citizen developer and you have no background in development, you can take some of our courses and learn the basics, the tenets of problem solving, as we call them, sequence, selection, and repetition. That really forms the basis of every kind of problem solving. And those translate really well into developing and delivering automations. We also have developer learning trails so that if you are an experienced developer and you want to come to learn to build automations and processes and AI agents, we have training that you can take for that and learn to build solutions. One thing that I think sets our training apart from any other training that I've taken, maybe a little bias here, is we do this concept called automation skill stacking, where we'll teach distinct skills in several videos. So, hey, you're going to learn about conditional statements. Hey, you're going to learn about logging. Hey, you're going to learn about web scraping, right? We'll teach you those individual skills, and then we'll have a project at the end of that to pull all of those skills together in a build. When you do that build, you're doing it in a timed and scored environment, which means we gamify it a little bit.
Sure.
You build an automation, you build it in this thing that we've called agentic quest, where you're building it in that timed and scored environment, and it gives you immediate feedback. So you have the ability to go back and change it. Maybe you did it with web scraping before, now you want to do it with JavaScript. What does that mean for the accuracy? What does that mean for the speed of processing? So we've kind of gamified the process of being able to learn and try different things in a safe environment where you're not going to break anything. Like the worst thing that happens is it just doesn't work.
Start over.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a great thing. So, you know, one of the companies I helped found over the years was DevOps Institute, where we were kind of the leader in DevOps training around the world. I don't know, I forget how many tens or maybe 100,000 DevOps certifications. And what I came to realize is there are some people who learn for their own benefit, right? I want to learn so I know how to do this. It's going to make me a better developer. It's going to make me a more valuable asset, more employable, what have you. And then, especially I see outside the US, there are people who are very tied into their certifications, right? They like to have all the initials after their name.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Automation Anywhere University, can I get the initials, or is it just for me to kind of better myself?
Absolutely. We have an essential certification, which is kind of that base level. We've got an advanced certification, and then we have an expert certification. And obviously those ramp up what's required of you. So you start with just being able to complete a multi-choice test. And then it gets to the point where you actually have to build solutions and submit them. And we're scoring them to make sure that they're following best practices and stuff like that. And that's something that's really important for us to make sure that not only are you going through these videos and learning, but you're actually able to apply it and you're being efficient, basically.
Right. I would assume continuing education is part of that charter, or?
Yeah, well, not formally. We definitely want to have continuing education for sure, but it's not tied into universities as of right now.
Got it. Excellent. You mentioned another term, Pathfinder.
Yeah,
Not everyone out here, again, is going to know Pathfinder.
that's right.
Give us a clue. What's that about?
So Pathfinder is our umbrella for everything that involves our community, our learning, our training, and our materials and stuff like that. We also have developed something called the Pathfinder Framework. And this Pathfinder Framework is the 9 dimensions that we think are extremely important for automation program leaders to consider when setting up and scaling an automation program. So you brought up a great point about training. One of the things that an automation program leader needs to know is have something like a competency matrix developed, which says, I have the following people on my team and they have the following skills. Does that help us to meet all of our needs that we have in our opportunity pipeline? So that as we're churning through new automation and AI opportunities, we have the team and the skills that are able to deliver on that. And if we don't, then we need to have some training plans developed and stuff like that. So those are the things that we're guiding automation program leaders on to say, hey, do you have a strategy and vision? How are you thinking about governance? How are you thinking about your operating model? Are you federated? Are you taking contributions from other people of your organization, or is it just a centralized team? How are you thinking about people and skills, your opportunity and pipeline management, your development and deployment best practices, change management, the way you report on metrics, and the way that you evangelize your program? All of those things are extremely important for an automation program leader to be successful. It's one thing just to deliver code to production. If you're not able to tell people about the business value that is driving for your organization, aligned to strategic priorities, you're missing the mark and you're selling yourself short.
Agreed. I couldn't have said it better myself. Excellent. A third thing you mentioned was around this whole agentic process automation, which is, in our last interview with Chief Product Officer Audi, it really is a pivot in the whole, you look at the history of RPA, BPA, all of these things. Yeah, hindsight's always 20/20, let me say. But in hindsight, you look at it and say, this was all great, but it was waiting for something like agentic AI to come in and just ignite it, right?
Yeah, I think the most common misconception I hear about is people think that, oh, we did all this work in RPA. Now we've got to scrap all of that and then turn to APA, right? And I think the truth of it is everything that you've been doing now becomes tools that are available to these agents that can be orchestrated as part of a complex multi-step process. And so it's really like, hey, if you have a ton of those RPA automations that you've built, you have gold, right? Because you can use all of that with those agents and you can enable them to do things like goal planning and execution, and they can determine in which order to execute those different automations.
I think of them as these are the programs that the agents are going to run. Unfortunately, in the rest of the world, not in the RPA space, right? People make agents, and then they've got to figure out what are the programs, how do what is this agent going to do? And I got to kind of program. Yeah. Here, we're coming at it is we already have all the steps. Now I've got an agent that could go do all these steps for me, right? I don't have to worry about stitching together.
That's right.
The steps.
I think another important thing is you want to have visibility in one platform where you've got all of these orchestrated processes with agents involved, right? And if you think about what you have with Salesforce and their agent force, and Workday has their own equivalent, those are great within those specific domains. But what if I had a place to pull them all together along with those RPA tools and all of that capability? And so our platform enables you to work with third-party agents as well as agents that are developed directly within our platform.
What a great story. I want to talk a little bit about the Imagine conference.
Yeah.
It's been 2 days. There's a lot of customers here, a lot of partners. I would imagine a lot of Pathfinder members, a lot of university students, a lot of the people they're your people.
Yeah. Yeah. Our community is out here strong.
What's been the big story at the conference for you?
The energy around APA and people starting to understand what's possible, and like we talked about, being able to use the stuff they've been building, but now do it in a different way, has been definitely energizing and electrifying. I think another thing that a lot of our customers are recognizing is that those opportunities that they had 2 or 3 years ago that they said, it doesn't meet our thresholds for ROI, or it's too complex for us to be able to do with this platform, they can now go look back at those opportunities and start to see like, hey, we can actually do that now. And not only can we do it, we can do it really quickly, and it's going to be an awesome solution. So they're starting to recognize and realize that a lot of those things are great ways for them to find their first use cases. I think another key thing is that people are getting hands-on with building their own agents. We've got several sessions that we've been doing throughout the conference where people can get hands-on building their own AI agents. Like I talked about with that agentic quest, where it's a time-scored environment, we're teaching people how to do that. The other thing we're doing is teaching people about how to think about deterministic versus non-deterministic agentic workflows. So I've got a deterministic workflow. It's a bit more robotic, but it's still using a large language model to complete what it needs to do. I've also got a non-deterministic agent where I'm giving it that set of tools and letting it determine in which order it needs to execute based on the goal that I've given it.
I love it. Feedback from people. There's been a lot of announcements. And look, at every conference like this, right? A lot of the announcements sometimes are forward-looking. And then there's stuff, rubber meets the road today. What has been the community? You're the voice of the community.
You're right.
What's been the community's kind of take on it?
This will be a data-driven answer because we've done an exercise in our community lounge.
Nothing less.
We did an exercise in the community lounge where we've got this big board set up, and we said, what's the feature that you're most excited about that we just announced? And what's the feature that you're most likely to implement first?
Okay.
Right? Kind of two different things. Automator AI, which is our ability to go from natural language to a built automation or process, is the number one thing that people are the most excited about.
Right.
Think of it as the vibe coding for automation.
It's a good way of looking at it.
Automation Copilot is the one that people think they will implement first, which is to say that's the one that's based on Amazon Q for Business, where you're able to have natural language to interact with your automation repository, with those assets, and be able to invoke automations, processes, API tasks, and let business users work with them.
That jives with, Techstrom is part of Futurum Group, a lot of analysts working with that. And they recently did my friend Mitchell actually did a whole report on agentic AI for developers. And I think that's the sentiment there. They're not looking for it to be the pilot. Right? Because a lot of people spend a lot of time saying, oh, it generates code. Is the code good? Is the code secure? Is the code bad? They're not looking for it to be the pilot. They're looking for it to be the co-pilot. And that's no pun with Microsoft's or GitHub stuff or anything like that. But they want AI to be a co-pilot, not a pilot at this stage of the game. That may change.
Yeah.
Right? As it gets better, as we become more confident and comfortable with it. But right now, I do think, so no brainer. That's the first thing they're going to do is take it as a co-pilot.
For sure. And that connects with all the training that we're doing. We're suggesting that when you get that first pilot use case into production, your first use of an AI agent, you want to have a human in the loop every single time.
Absolutely.
Because you want to verify every single decision, every single extraction, every single classification that was done by those agents. Yeah, you can start to peel that back later, but thankfully our platform has that Copilot interface, which enables you to have human in the loop 100% of the time. And then you can determine programmatically if you want to scale that back a little bit and not have every single one for review. And that way your users are focused on the exceptions or the outliers rather than the normal use cases that come in every single day.
Absolutely. I want to talk about another thing, if it's okay, Micah. So, RPA, BPA, RPA more than BPA, was kind of the engine driving or one of the engines, a major engine, driving the whole low-code, no-code, citizen developer kind of movement, which has been very successful. Before there was Gen AI and, it burst on the scene, and before this agentic AI, of course, this changes the game, right? We're going to go from 30, 40 million developers to maybe 500 million developers because everyone could develop.
Yeah.
What is what does that mean for your chart? Or what does that mean? Like all of a sudden, who is a developer to you?
Well, I mean, I hadn't considered those numbers, but the weight of that all of a sudden feels
Crazy.
overwhelming, right?
Yeah, no, it's a 10x.
No, we're really excited about that because we've already got a great low-code user interface that's web-based, so anyone can just spin it up and use it. You don't have to worry about setting up your IDE or weird dependencies or stuff like that. It's easy to use. It works in the browser. It works on Windows. It works on Mac OS. Wow. So we have support for that. I think the other thing is with Automator AI, like we just talked about, as long as someone understands their business problem, which is the specialty of business users, they'll be able to explain that and turn that into workable code and solutions that they're able to execute. Citizen development has been kind of a contentious thing in the past, right?
It has.
Some people do it really well, some people haven't. Personally, I've led a program where we were really successful with citizen development. Not every single person you train has gone on to build the most advanced automations in the world. But I think with Automator AI and where we're going with a lot of these new agentic capabilities, it will enable more citizen developers to contribute in more meaningful ways than we've ever seen previously.
So Micah, this has been a great conversation. You know, it's an exciting time to be having, especially the Automation Anywhere community. You did 46,000 people in 4 weeks, you know, just on agentic. So it's a great time to be involved in leading and helping this community grow. Keep it up. Come back and keep us posted on this too. It's an exciting thing. That's going to wrap up this one, though, Micah. Thank you very much. We are here at Automation Anywhere's Imagine conference in Orlando at the Conrad. We're going to be back with more. Stay tuned.